Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday night nonfiction post-apocalyptic book club. We are working on food storage for preppers, a week-by-week plan for surviving the apocalypse. This is written by David Nash. Wonderful book. Strongly recommend that you buy it, add it to your collection. This is got some quintessential information as far as surviving the coming apocalypse. And as we've said since we started, we're on week 5 of this endeavor, and it's going to be 13 weeks long. The way the book is written is, had you bought it a year ago, then there's 52 projects, things you can do at home, things you can do to learn how to be a better prepper or how to be a prepper, period. And then there's 52 weeks worth of investments in long-term food storage. And you're going to spend minimum amount of money, probably about $10, $15 a week. However, we wanted to speed that up because we believe that the impending doom is going to be a lot quicker than a year from now. So we're tackling 4 of those each week. So we're condensing a 52-week program into 13 weeks, and hopefully everybody will do that. If you purchase the things that he recommends, and we'll go over that each week, if you follow the purchase recommendations that he makes, then you will have enough food for 2,000 calories per person for 2 people for 10 months. So almost a year's worth of food for 2 people. That's a pretty doggone good deal. And then, of course, you can always add to that as well. I'm super excited. I've gotten a couple new books in, and just unbelievable. I'm reading one right now. Let me get you the name and title. That is just unbelievable. It's called Corruption in America. And the guy's name is Lighthouse, I think. Corruption in... I have books in different rooms of the house, depending upon what room I'm in as to what I'm reading. By Zephyr Teachout. So just phenomenal book, unbelievable, about all of the different corruption. And it starts off basically with the first incident of major corruption that had to be investigated was Benjamin Franklin was our first ambassador to France. And King Louis liked Benjamin Franklin so much that when Benjamin Franklin came home from being the ambassador to France, he was given a snuff box that had several diamonds encrusted around the top, along with a picture of King Louis on it. And so today's value would be almost $1 million probably. But so the question became one of, back then that meant that you were special to that person when they gave you a gift of that magnitude. And it was typical to give a departing present for an ambassador or somebody like that in the royal court. But something of this value, was unforeseen in the past. And so, it began the whole discussion about corruption because, if you're given something worth several $1,000s in 1780s, and when that's more than a couple years' salary or wage for a typical person, then was there an implication that you owed something in return for that? And so you had to get congressional approval to accept a gift like that. So how far we have changed from what our Constitution wanted, with a few good men doing good things in the Constitution. And just unbelievably great book. The other book that I got in that you can tell I've been going through the recipes is Camp Cooking. 100 Years, found some great recipes for the, I'm going to try it between the Kelly cooker and the camp cooker, Kelly stove camp cooker. I have 2 different pieces of equipment. The Kelly kettle is the one that has the chimney through the middle that boils water real quick, and then the camp stove by Seth McGinn, is the old milk jug that's been condensed down, and it's basically an outdoor pressure cooker. That's what I'm going to use for a lot of these, along with my cast iron stove, or cast iron pots. So that's really good. Pretty excited about a couple others. I got in the Great Adventure Bible Timeline, so I'm doing a redoing. I did it 2 years ago, and then last year I did Catechism in a year. There's Bible in a Year by Father Mike Schmitz. And so we go through the entire Bible in 1 year. And this is the Bible timeline that he and a guy by the name of Jeff Cavins put together. So basically what happens is we're doing the Bible, study of the Bible in the chronological order as things happened, with the exception that if you do it that way, you don't get into the New Testament until the last month of the year. So every once in a while, they'll throw in a gospel. Okay. So I think next month, maybe the month after, we start getting into the gospels. But I mean, it's really neat because it's got, it has what's happening in the narrative books, the supplemental books, what was God's family plan, what's the northern countries doing, what are the land of Canaan doing, South and Egypt, who is the major world power at the time, and what's going on secular history-wise, like the Greek invasion and all that kinds of different stuff. So it's just really great timeline. You can just sit down and say, what was happening while I'm reading this book in the Bible, and just really great. So they had offered this for free at ascensionpress.com if you were willing to pay postage. So while I was on the phone with the lady from Ascension Press ordering this one, I got an email and they said, hey, we've done the same thing with a timeline chart of Jesus and his full 33 years. So it's kind of the same rough thing. All the different secular things that are happening, what's happening, where the concordance is, concurrence is among all the Gospels and the epistles and everything else. And it just unbelievable stuff. So then it goes through all the major events of the Bible and whether they took place in Israel or in Judea, Israel being Samaria and Galilee. But just, I'm just really excited. I had to sit down. I picked it up this morning at the mailbox, and then I had to basically go over it before I went to my morning meeting this morning and share it with the guys there. So it's just something else. It's fantastic, but just really excited about those good things. Now, I think I've kind of, we're 7 minutes in. Gosh, time to start the program. I think enough people have already joined in. Let me see. Maggie's here. Maggie, did you see my intro? Just before I got on, I watched Bjorn and Loki chase after their girlfriend in the backyard. So thank you for that. Maggie is of a kindred soul. She is putting out 2 wonderful dogs. I wish mine were half as behaved, who just lighten your heart, and the whole thing is, how can we do this together? How can we share pleasantries? How can we share positivity? How can we share ideas and support of each other so we can all make it through this together? And and thank you so much for that, Maggie, for sharing those great uplifting videos that give us a chuckle and make us feel like life is worth living, because I think that's going to be critical. Cats and Prepping, welcome. Butch Graves, let me see, welcome. And so just what you can do, enjoy life. Okay. We need to prepare. We know it's going to happen. I personally believe it's going to happen before Christmas, if it doesn't happen before the elections. But do what you can. And please do me a favor and understand something. Nothing that is going to happen do we have any influence or control over. The only thing we have any influence or control over is our own mind and our own ability to prepare. So we have to do a couple things. We have to make sure, number one, we understand that what's going to be happening is going to be horrific. Prepare yourself for the worst. It's going to be extremely bad. So find some like-minded people to give you support. Look for those Loki and Bjorn 1-minute shorts that give you something to chuckle about, that give you something to enlighten your life, so that you can have positive ideas of life and what we're all here for. Find some friends that you can share things with. Maybe you're not bringing them into the prepping community now, but if you trust them, you can prepare for them and then bring them into your group, because nobody's going to be able to do this as a lone wolf. And then do what you can within the abilities that you have, and don't alter your life to such a dramatic change that you no longer feel like you're you. That's what's most important, is you have got to continue to be you. And because you are the one person you're going to count on the most to make it through this. So we're trying to help each other, but gosh, you got to help yourself too. Okay. Okay. Enough of the soapbox. Let me see. Cats and prepping. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. That's a fantastic idea. Absolutely. We do what we can, when we can, with what we can, and then pray that that's enough. And, the more you get into this, let me tell you, the Dunning-Kruger effect, you can look it up, Dunning-Kruger, Dunning-Kruger effect. The more you become an expert in something, the less you realize you know about it. The less you know about something, the more comfortable you are because you're ignorant as to the overall expanse of it. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way, and that is that there's something called blissful ignorance. You're happy because you don't know the consequences. You don't know the magnitude of it. So there's bliss in that. Okay. Yes, the number one admonition of the Bible is fear not, for I am with you. Absolutely. Okay. We are in week 5. So last week, week 4, you should have acquired, let me get my glasses. So for week 4, you should have acquired 10 pounds of powdered milk, 7 boxes of macaroni and cheese. Now, do me a favor. You're going to notice when I do my Prepper Pantry haul this coming Saturday, a lot of the items that I have that I purchased, cake mixes, brown sugar, and things like that, I had them out. I had my vacuum sealer out. I just went ahead. I typically don't vacuum seal them until after I do my demo. I just vacuum sealed everything this time. So you're going to see some of them, the brown sugar, the cake mixes, etc., in the boxes in vacuum seal packages. If you get macaroni and cheese, make sure you vacuum seal that. Unless you get the macaroni and cheese that has the semi-liquid macaroni in the tin. Okay, if you get the powdered macaroni, that's in a little envelope, that will go bad after about a year. So you want to make sure you vacuum seal that, because if you vacuum seal it, it'll have a little bit longer duration. And then 50 pounds of wheat or flour and 5 cans of cream of chicken soup. So you notice that last week I did get another can of cream of mushroom and another can of cream of chicken. For this week coming up, week 5, you should get 1 bottle of 500 multivitamins, 10 pounds of powdered milk, 5 cans of cream of mushroom soup, and 50 pounds of wheat or flour. And I'm going to say, in preparation for week 6, coming up next week, what you need to get is 8 cans of tomato soup. It just says pounds of sugar. I'm going to say it. That's what they do last time. I think they said 6 pounds of sugar last time. 20 pounds. 20 pounds of sugar. That's probably a misprint. Should be 20 pounds of sugar, 8 cans of tuna, and 6 pounds of shortening. Now, when you get to 6 pounds of shortening, you can also include getting lard. And if you get lard and vacuum seal that, that'll last a pretty long time as well. I have found out that what I'm doing in place of the shortening, I'm also getting oil. So if you get cold pressed virgin olive oil in an aluminum can, or whatever it is, tin can, I guess, that does have a fairly long shelf life. So that's really good for you. Okay, so that's where we are as far as purchases and the plan and where you should be. Let's see where we are. Let me see up here. I always miss such a great conversation. Thank you. I'm trying to prep from family members who are still not awake. They're going to need food, but I'm going to need labor. You're going to need labor. You're going to need guards. You're going to need all kinds of stuff. Very wise of you, little lone prepper. I think that's a very wise move. Hello, James Trump, 24 Price. Welcome. Glad to see you. Maggie says, just FYI, if you can get the freeze-dried cheddar cheese from Thrive Life or any other freeze-dried place, this makes great mac and cheese. Just add whatever noodles you have, milk or water, either way. Yes. And what I've done is there's actually 2 different products. Here, let me get my account up for you. I am an authorized distributor for Thrive Life. I have been since it was called Shelf Reliance. Let me see, Lee's Prep Thrive.thrivelife.com is my account. And I'll show you this while we're talking about macaroni and cheese. You can either get the shredded, freeze-dried cheddar cheese, or there's one even better than that for macaroni and cheese. And I'm not sure how many. I'll check my inventory here and let you know how many of those I have. But let me see, add items. I'm just using my monthly delivery service as a basis here to get into the account. And there's one called cheese sauce. Okay. And come on. Add items. Sauces. Basics. So there's tomato sauce, there's cheese sauce, there's 4 different other kinds of sauces. There's bechamel, velouté, savory beef, chicken bouillon, beef bouillon, butter powder. All these basic sauces are just unbelievable. Here we go. Here's cheese sauce. So, and it is on sale for $25.16. So let me get up here and share tab. So this is a freeze-dried cheese sauce, okay? And so the small can, if you get, so what I'm showing you is my account. Oh, come on. My mouse kind of messed things up, I think. There we go. I don't know what's going on, but let's get out of this. There we go. Okay, so it's $21. If you have the monthly standing order like I do, and you can change the contents every month. So, mine's on the 4th of the month each month. Then if you have that, you basically get about a $4 discount. If you notice here, if you buy it all by itself, it's $25.16. If you buy it as part of your monthly shipment, then it's $21.39 for a can of it. And that has 37 servings of instant cheese sauce. So pretty good deal. So thank you for reminding me of that, Maggie. That is great. Yes, and then you can also get the shredded cheddar cheese. And there are 5 different kinds of cheeses that are available to you: cheddar, Monterey Jack, Parmesan, mozzarella, and pepper jack. Great idea, Cats and Prepping. Great idea. And that protects the macaroni as well. Macaroni will go bad after about a year if you're not careful. So you're doing a very wise thing there as well. What's my suggestion for boll weevils? So there are a couple things you can do. Number one, if you put a vacuum, if you get it really well vacuum sealed, remember they need oxygen to survive. And so if they don't have any oxygen, they won't survive. Number 2, you can freeze the larvae. So if you freeze any flour products or anything like that for 72 hours, at 0 degrees or below for 72 consecutive hours, that will kill off any larvae. So you have either of those 2 options that you can do. Do not spray it with insecticide, okay, before you put it in the bag. Crisco is a good option. So your fats that you might want to store, some of the good ones are coconut oil. It probably has the longest lasting of all the oils that are on the market. You can get lard. My lard kind of softened up in the boxes, so I had to vacuum seal those and get those protected a little bit. I had them higher up on the shelf as well, where it's a little bit warmer in the storage room. So I have to move those down to the bottom because I probably have about 30 pounds of lard, and it was just starting to ooze a little bit because I didn't have it vacuum sealed, and so I wanted to vacuum seal it, make sure I got that well protected. Coconut oil, lard, Crisco is a good one. Just remember that Crisco in the liquid form can go rancid a lot faster than the ones that's kind of semi-solid. Then your oils, of course, whether it be vegetable or canola or olive oil. They all. Then avocado oil is a good one that has a very high melting point, a very high temperature. So that's really good for frying is the avocado oil. But so make sure you have plenty of oils. Another good one you can get, but it's about $6 for maybe less than a pound. And it's a product called Bacon Up. And it's a little package, like a 1 pint ice cream package, but kind of oblong, circular. And it's called Bacon Up, and you'll find it where you find all the oils and everything. It's actually just packaged bacon grease. So that's another real good grease that you might want to store up, especially if you're going to be doing meats and stuff. It gives it that bacony flavor if you use it as to either saute your onions or to do your beef. If you're going to fry something, like what I do with my freeze-dried Thrive Life, is I'll throw it into the pan and crackle it before I add the water and rehydrate it. So I kind of do things a little bit backwards. I'll cook it before I rehydrate it, and then when I add the rehydration into it, it just tastes a little bit better, in my opinion. A way you can enhance that is to put a little bit of bacon up down in the bottom of the pan, do that charring in your bacon up, and then add the water, and it is phenomenal. So, that's one of those things you can do. Little tips like this are what's going to really mean the difference in having good tasting food in a post-apocalyptic world as well. So that is a very wise decision. So I strongly recommend that. And I've told people, I used to be an advocate of a bunch of freeze-dried stuff, but right now I'm limiting myself in my freeze-dried acquisitions. I'm not buying that much MREs or anything like that. I am concentrating on canned goods, and I'm concentrating on dry products. And the dry products that I'm getting, I'm just vacuum sealing them. I'm not going to worry about putting them in number 10 cans or anything else. I just want to get as much as possible. I think we all need to focus on getting as much food as possible before the pending apocalypse. And meat products, canned meat products, are going to be very essential to that. So make sure you get plenty of fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel, sardines, canned oysters, canned shrimp, all those good things. And then any good canned meat products you can get. We really like the canned Kirkland, which is Costco chicken. And Helen does a chicken salad, and she will only use Kirkland canned chicken in it. She won't use any other brand. That's how loyal she is to that. Let me see. I found a bottle that Helen bought me of Sprite in the refrigerator. I normally don't drink. You know me. I normally drink just the flavored water. This is the first, what is it called, soda I've had in a while. Kind of enjoying it. But it's caffeine free, so which is good because that way it won't keep me up all night tonight. Okay, welcome Jenny Barnes. That's a new name. Welcome. Good to see you. If you buy Crisco shortening, the white lasts longer than the butterfly. Absolutely, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. Cats and prepping animal fat is a good substitute for Crisco, which goes rancid after a spell. And with some salt, you can can lard for a long time. Yes, agree there. Let me see here. I found great success grating my own cheese, blend of hard to medium hard cheeses. Have an adapter for my KitchenAid. It will be around 5 pounds at a time. Blend the various cheeses and then probably freeze dry them. Maggie has a freeze dryer. Yes, Crisco and lard has so many uses, and to tell you the truth, I think lard has a better taste. But yes, you can save your own bacon fat. Absolutely. Don't forget to filter it. So what you want to do is you probably want to put it through something like a coffee filter. So if you can go to Walmart or somewhere like that, get one of those plastic or rubber coffee pour over devices, and it uses a number 4 cone filter. Put that number 4 cone filter in it, then filter your bacon fat through that so that you're getting the pure bacon fat and you don't have any of the other pieces that can cause it to go bad. So as long as you have just pure bacon fat, it can last for a long time. Don't even have to refrigerate it. Welcome, Pat. Good to see you. I will tell you, I ate MREs. I wrote meal combat individual MCIs, the old CRATs. I have eaten those way past their inspection or expiration date. I would not worry about it. As long as you have kept them in a reasonable temperature zone, you aren't, keeping them up to 110 Texas weather in the summer and down to 30-degree Texas weather in the winter. As long as you're keeping it a consistent temperature and preferably in a dark place, then out of direct sunlight, then they should be good for a long time. I would not worry about them that much. That's a very critical point, South Florida DCL. Absolutely. Which is why I am always looking for recipes like this and using my camp cookware, my Kelly kettle, my can cooker, my gosh, I'm going to have a hard time with this tonight. The black cast iron. There we go. My cast iron cookware, out in the backyard. So yeah, you need to use your stuff. And the other thing it's going to do is, for example, I needed to do some pureeing of something. The recipe said pull out 1/4 of the beans and then puree them and then add them back in as a thickener to the soup. And so it said there were a couple ways you could do it. And so I watched one lady and she had a bowl that was the perfect size of her ladle, and she used her ladle to squash the beans. And I said, you know what? Maybe I need to get something like a hand crank egg beater or something like that to help me with this process. So as I would have never thought of that had I not practiced it in the first place. So a lot of times when you practice with your preps, you learn that there may be a shortcoming you have in your preparations that you need to get now in order to make your preps more furtive for you in the future. So very good advice, South Florida DCL. Make sure you guys are practicing with what you have. And that's how I learned basically that I prefer my freeze-dried foods to cook them first and then rehydrate them, or cook them partially and then rehydrate. Hello, Triple G Farms. Welcome. Good to see you. No, you're fine. Just happy you're here. Okay, so let's get into these 4 projects because I think they're pretty important. The first one, they call it, is project number 17. They call it Essene Bread. I've always called it Ezekiel's bread. So this is the bread that's in the book of Ezekiel. And basically what you're doing is instead of using wheat berries or anything like that, you're using sprouts. It doesn't have the glutens that a berry would have, the final product. It can be considered a little bit healthier than the others. So they give a couple nice things in here. Number one, they talk about how to do the sprouts, and then number 2, they teach you how to cook using those. And so they call it Essene bread. The Essenes were a group of very strict Jews who lived out in the desert and lived off of locusts and honey and wore wool garments. It's believed that John the Baptist was a member of the Essene sect. And so they were kind of the hermits of the Jews. And so that's why they ate sprouts. They didn't believe in eating the grains. They would eat the sprouts instead of the grains. And so Ezekiel bread, what do they call it here? Essene bread, it's the same thing. Okay. Then he talks about how to use a box fan and convert it into a dehydrator. And so you can basically dehydrate your own foods. Helen bought me a dehydrator. Gosh, we'd only been married a year or two. So this had to be back in the mid 80s. And she bought me one of those 4-tray dehydrators for fruit and vegetables and everything else. And yeah, that's one of our prized possessions. So we do that as well. And then we vacuum seal it into mason jars. So that's another good one. And then it talks about basically dehydrating tomatoes and pack them in oil. You can also sun dry them. And so it goes through processes about how to do both of those. So you can use that Project 18, the Box Fan Dehydrator, to dehydrate your tomatoes and then pack those. And then you have tomatoes. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but one of the things I try to get every single month, even though I grow tomatoes, I know that what I grow in the backyard lasts me for maybe a week. Helen says, gosh, those are expensive tomatoes we're growing in the backyard. The amount of money we're spending on them. Hello, Camp Patton Family Homestead. Welcome. Bug Out Adventures. Welcome. So those, what was I saying? Every time I have a Thrive Life order, I order one jar or one number 2.5 can, PC they call it, pantry can of tomato dices. Feel like I'm dehydrating tonight. And then the last project for this week is Biltong, which is South African version of jerky. And so it goes through all the materials and how to make it. They have basically a dehydrating tub that they teach you how to make, so you can hang the biltong over the racks and have it in a dehydrator, a dryer. To be honest with you, you could use that for fish. You could use it for wild game. There are a lot of things that you could use that dehydrator for the biltong and use that for other purposes as well. So don't think that this is just a single purpose dehydrator that they're showing you here with the biltong. Has multiple purposes. And so I strongly recommend you consider getting one. And then the biltong recipe itself. Now, so biltong is a little bit sweeter and is also a little bit softer in the chewing than is American beef jerky. Okay, American beef jerky tends to be a little bit on the more spicy and or peppery side, and a little bit on the drier side where you kind of have to jerk it, which is why they call it jerky. Whereas biltong is a little bit softer, a little bit more chewable, a little bit on the sweeter side. That's the main difference between the two. So that's the 4 projects they have for this week that we wanted to focus on. And is anybody here doing their own beef jerky or biltong? Let me see. Let me catch up here. Yeah, I had to order an egg beater off of Amazon, believe it or not. I went to like 3 different Goodwill stores, and I went to the county pantry. We have one. It's called the Caring Place. And I went to a Salvation Army. I could not find an egg beater, so I had to order one off Amazon. Let me see. Yes, tortillas are very easy to make. So it's just a version of flatbread. You can also call it pita bread. Then it's equivalent to font in the Arabic countries. If you fry it, then basically that's Navajo fry bread. So yeah, but it's a very simple flatbread. What's it called in matzah, basically in the Bible? Unleavened bread, baked on both sides, and it's good to go. So yes, it's very easy to make, very healthy, and very useful for a lot of things. Matter of fact, I had tortillas this morning. There you go, a mandolin. What a great idea to have for thinly slicing things, whether it be meat, whether it be, well, I don't know, maybe with the angled blade you might be able to do meat, but definitely for vegetables, if you're going to be dehydrating vegetables or fruits, what a great idea having a mandolin available to you. Just make sure you use that safety guard when you get down to the lower portions of slicing that whatever you're slicing. You don't want to have pieces of finger in there with your vegetables or your vegetables or your fruits. Hello, Gil. Welcome. Good to see you, buddy. Well, each has a different purpose. Okay. So one of the things that I'm going to recommend you do is a little bit of information, if you can find some, on building your own water filter, because basically the chlorine and activated charcoal kind of do the same thing, but chlorine's a little bit more active than is the activated charcoal. But you're going to have to, you want to remove several different things from your drinking water. You want to remove solids. Okay. So that can be solid waste, that can be fecal matter from animals, that can be leaves, that can be all different kinds of stuff. So you want to remove any of the solid things and the dissolved things as well. So then the dissolved things, the only thing that you probably will not be able to filter out using standard distillation, using standard water purification techniques, is salt water. You're going to have to distill salt water. You just have to boil it and then recapture the steam. But you have protozoa, you have amoeba, you have chemicals, you have all these different things. So basically the sand is going to eliminate chemical products. But for live products like amoeba and protozoa, you have to kill those with something chemical. That can be an activated charcoal filter, or it can be a chlorine filter, or it can be iodine drops we used to have in the military. We used to have water purification tablets, which is basically a concentrated form of iodine as well that you throw into your canteen. But different purification techniques kill or remove different impediments to safe drinking water. So make sure you have all four of the major categories removed. Now, there is a fifth category that I don't think we have to worry about that much, but we may, and that's going to be radioactive water. Now, radioactive water is a misnomer. Okay, I want to tell you that. We call it that out of convenience, but then out of reality. What happens is the only time water itself becomes radioactive is if it is consumed inside the fireball, inside the actual either fusion or fission reaction. Then it can change from water, H2O, to deuterium, okay, which is a radioactive substance. But that happened, we have not seen that happen in a live use of an atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb yet, because most of them have been air bursts. We don't do that many ground bursts. So what happens is you may have some radioactive dust, a very small portion of it that's brought up from either an air or a ground burst, taken up into the atmosphere, and then it falls back down to Earth. When it falls back down to Earth, it's about the size of a snowflake, and it may get into your drinking water supply. So it's not the water itself that is radioactive, it's the dust that is in the water that is radioactive. So as long as you use something like a coffee filter, or something even better, something like a Berkey or a Simpure, or one of the other commercial, a Sawyer, Seychelles, any of the commercial water filter companies, you're probably going to remove at least 99% of the radioactivity as far as the dust that's in that water, so you can drink it. So that would be the one exception. Seychelles makes a filter that they say guarantee removes 100% radioactive water. I have a couple of them. But when you take a look at it, it's mostly removing cesium. And so, whatever. So, boy, did you ask me a question I got kind of excited about, huh? Let me see. Banana bags, yep. Do research on a natural pool, no chlorine. They are not hard to maintain if you design it the shallow side to have the small fish. Yes. So another thing you might want to look up is aquaponics. And basically you can get an aquaponics system. And what it'll do is it will maintain, usually it's going to be 3 or 4 different tanks, and the water flows through the 3 or 4 different tanks. So one tank's going to have your fish that you're growing for protein. And then that water flows through and aerates and everything else, and then provides sustenance for your garden, your vegetable garden. That gets purified, put back down into a drinkable water process, and then back down into your tank for your fish. So you can have an entire ecosystem based off of aquaponics and growing vegetables and fruits in a water system, as well as fish. And so you have almost an entire food source system in that one. And there are some fantastic aquaponics kits out there to get you into it. So Maggie is salt prepping meats this week. And we had a discussion about that here a little while ago. Make sure you store all kinds of salt for meat preservation. That's one of the oldest ways we have of preserving meat for a long period of time. Salt cured bacon can last almost forever. That's what they used. Basic salt cured pork was what they used. They fed the sailors at sea. It was stable. They could keep it in barrels at sea, and you just had to wash all the excess salt off. But salt has a drying tendency to it. It'll pull out any moisture out of something, and that's what preserves it, is removing the moisture. Same thing as dehydrating. But the salt that you use to do this process is critical. It has to be 100% salt. Can't have any anti-caking agents or any preservatives in it or anything else. So when you look at the salt that you're buying, flip it over, take a look at the ingredients, and as long as it only says salt, then you can use that for salting and curing any long-term storage of your meats. And Robin, I have bad news for you. With the fires in the panhandle of Texas, and I think they said something like 35,000 head of cattle have already been destroyed by the fires, and going into western Oklahoma, the price of beef is going up. You may not see it right now, but I guarantee you, within 6 months, those cattle would have been slaughtered and sent to market, and there's going to be a meat shortage in about 6 months, and you're going to see the price go up again. So even though it's expensive now, get what you can get right now, because it's going to cost more in the near future. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Yeah, grandkids love it. Blue Moon Acres, welcome. I haven't seen that name before either. Welcome. Glad to see that you're with us. I don't know what it is about that. Jerky just seems to go. People like it. Kind of the same thing with trail mix. People have a tendency to eat it up as soon as you make it. The thing that we get here, and I think you saw in my last Prepper Pantry haul, I got a box of Hershey's chocolate, baking chocolate, because Helen makes some peanut butter fudge with chocolate and peanut butter. And I don't know, I'm going to need sweets. In a post-apocalyptic world, I'm addicted to sweets. As a matter of fact, this coming weekend, Saturday, I'm focusing on the contest to make one Dutch oven pineapple upside down cake, which is one box of yellow cake mix, one can of one can of pineapple rings, and one jar of cherries, maraschino cherries. So that's basically a pineapple upside down cake. Then I'm making one peach cobbler. So for that, I need two cans of the peach pie filling, and then one box of yellow cake mix. That's it. That's all you need for that. Is 2 cans of peaches and one can of or one box of yellow cake mix. So that's going to be my focus for my purchases for this coming Prepper Pantry haul. Is how am I going to have sweets in a post-apocalyptic world that'll be worthwhile and substantial? So last week I concentrated on the peanut butter fudge. This week we're going to do a couple cobblers. I may do more than one. I may just show you one or two, but I may get maybe a dozen boxes of cake mix and 6 or 7 cans of the different things. But I'll basically show you the intent of it when we get to the Prepper Pantry haul this weekend. Okay, come on, mouse. Hello, Ting Ting. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Absolutely. And another thing, and this is critical for me because all I have right now is a bean grinder, a small one, makes 1 cup at a time to grind my coffee beans. So the same thing. Remember that the longest lasting coffee is freeze-dried coffee or your instant coffee. The next longest lasting after that is going to be whole beans that have already been roasted. So unless you want to roast your own, then you can have basically raw beans, roast them yourself, and then grind them. But raw beans will last longer than will ground coffee. So you want to have a grinder so you can grind those yourself. And that's another one of those things where a manual food mill can also be used as a coffee grinder. So that's one of those multiple use tools that's very handy to have in your kitchen. Oh my gosh. Yes. So there is water that has the brain amoeba in it. And so the water we have here at our house, when we bought it, we have a whole house water filtration system. We have, first it goes through a water softener, and then from the water softener, it goes to a reverse osmosis system. So everything we in our house, as far as water in the bathrooms, as well as here in the kitchen, is on a reverse osmosis system, so that hopefully we get rid of anything like that. Our last house, where we used to live, we were in the Brushy Creek mud, and you can look up Brushy Creek mud. 1997, I believe, is the year, cryptosporidiosis outbreak, and so we had lightning strike our septic, our sewage pump. So all of our sewage was collected at one collection point, and it had an electric pump that pumped it uphill 85 feet, and then it gravity fed down into the city of Austin's municipal waste system. Well, lightning struck that pump and, of course, blew it up. So all that septic just kind of coagulated right there, overfilled the collection tank, got into the Brushy Creek, which is the local water supply there. And even though our water wellhead for our drinking water was upstream from where this happened, there was a fracture in the karst that took the raw sewage directly down to the intake valve for our drinking water supply. So my daughter was the first confirmed case of cryptosporidiosis as a result of that outbreak. That's why I have stuff like this. I know the importance of it. I know the importance of you can take care of your own sanitation needs. You know what you need to do, but do your neighbors. And so they can affect you even more than you affect yourself. So make sure you're prepared, know how to use this different types of antibiotics and things like that in case there is something like a cryptosporidiosis outbreak or even and that comes from ingestion of fecal matter, by the way, cryptosporidiosis. So if you drink water that's been infected with fecal matter, then you get crypto. Yes, absolutely. So then one of the things you do want to do is you want to hang them. Hanging also is quite often used with smoking. So you can make so the same thing, that Biltong hanger drying rack that they show you is also a great way to make a smoking rack. So you can make something out of something that's non-flammable and put that in your smoker and hang your meat on it and smoke your meat. And that would be another way you could preserve it for a longer period of time. So Maggie's saying, preserve the stuff that is frozen. And then that way you can buy the expensive meat now before it gets more expensive later, and you'll have a double. Basically what she's implying is you'll have double the amount of meat and save a lot of money in the long term. And that is some great advice. Just don't go into debt doing it. I don't think so, Ting Ting. And the reason I say that is because I think they have they are caked. They do have some preservatives in them, and they have some other minerals in them to assist in the overall health of the animals. So I would just go ahead and get you can get, there's pink salt you can get. There's Morton's has some canning salt, and I found it in two different places at Walmart. I found it over with the canning supplies, the jarring supplies and canning supplies. I found some there. I also found it with the regular salt products, and it usually comes in a blue box. I think it's a 4-pound box for like $2.87, and that 4-pound box will cure a couple pounds of meat, to be honest with you. And it's kind of a semi-coarse grind, but not a fine grind. I have accidentally left jerky in my bug out bag in my car, and it's gotten up to 140, 150 degrees inside my car, because it gets up to 110, 115 here in Central Texas. And then the inside baking temperature inside the car, that's why sometimes they say don't leave your animals or children inside the car, because they can be baked to death. So it gets up to 145, 150 degrees here. And so I've had the jerky in my car, left it in my car for over a summer, and it was still good at the end of the summer. So I try to replace mine. I put it on a cycle of not having it more than 2 years. But certainly if you start seeing penicillin growing on it, throw it away, even if it hasn't been opened. Oh, sue me, you lucky thing. Wow. And 36 pints of dog food. Wow, that's great. I lucked out. I think it was last week or the week before. Somebody asked me, do I have a budget? Do I have a shopping list? Yes, I kind of have a shopping list of what my intentions are and what I want to accomplish. So like this week, my accomplishment is I want to have some pineapple upside down cakes for my Dutch oven. I want to have some peach, cherry, apple cobbler for my Dutch oven. So I'm going to get, various things to support that. That's my goal for this week. But then I also have my other things that I do. I think this week, let me check my card. This week I'm due to get maple syrup. So remember, I alternate between bacon up 1 week, ghee, vegetable oil, olive oil, coconut oil, and then maple syrup. Now, last week I also bought extra some molasses, because I intend to have that to do some baked beans. As an experiment in my enamel Dutch oven. But no, I try to say, what is it that I want to accomplish this week? What is it that I want to have in storage so that I can have something that I will enjoy? So this week I am focusing on desserts, basically, for the apocalypse. So maybe I might end up getting maybe like 6 boxes of yellow cake mix. I'll probably get 3 or 4 boxes of biscuit mix, just add water biscuit mix, because that's really good for things like railroad pie, chicken pot pie, things like that, for a crust over the top of it. So I might get 2 or 3 boxes of that. I do want to get a couple cans of peaches, a couple cans of cherries, a couple jars of cherries, and maybe 4, 6, 2 of each, maybe apple, cherry, and peaches for cobblers. So that's kind of how I do it. I take a look at where am I and what do I need. I did not know that, but it makes sense. It makes sense. And one of the things, Sumi, that you can also check is, at least at our grocery store here, they have the wood pellets. So I have 2 trash cans. I think they're 35-gallon trash cans. They might be more. I'm going to say 35 just to be on the safe side. I put a 55-gallon contractor trash bag inside. Then I put hardwood charcoal briquettes inside. So I have 2 full trash cans of charcoal briquettes. I have another 2 cans. When I see a tree or something that's down on the side of the road, I'll try to pick it up and then cut it into lengths and then split it. So I have firewood. I've got 2 full trash cans and a foot locker full of firewood that I did that way. Now the trash cans, you've got this wood, it's not very cooperative as far as fitting in very nicely. You got all kinds of blank space inside there. So what I do is I go to my grocery store and I get the wood pellets, okay? And I'll get like a 10-pound bag of wood pellets and just pour that in. That takes up all the void space where the wood itself, the wood that I'm going to be using for fires, is not using it. It kind of absorbs all that space. So that gives me something else that's flammable But you can get, things like hickory flavor or mesquite flavor or whatever, cooking chips, and that would do just the exact same thing. So yeah, if you're concerned about taste in a barbecue, then afterwards, and that's another way you might consider doing that. That is such a refreshing taste. I haven't had a soda in so long. Gosh. Wow. When I worked at Dell, I was an HR manager, training manager. And the last 2 weeks of every quarter, everybody worked on the manufacturing lines. We had to get as many product out before the end of the quarter as possible. That's back when we were having 2 stock splits a year. And so even as an HR manager, I worked the boxing line for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 consecutive weeks. And, so that's what we did. And so I would get home at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got pulled up one night and I found out why I couldn't grow any nice foliage in my front yard. There was a herd of deer. We were on a cul-de-sac right next to a little creek, and the deer could get everything they wanted to eat out of my yard and then run to the creek and drink it down, drink water, fresh water. And it was a Parisian well. Is it Parisian? You know what I mean. Where we were on a downslope of a hill, and so the water, artesian well. It was an artesian well, so the water spurted up and then created a creek down into Brushy Creek, and so they could get their water and their food at the same place. And that's so yeah, I understand what it's like having a whole bunch of deer in your yard. They also and make sure you have a landing zone lights marked out on your roof, because when Santa comes in with his reindeer, if you're not careful, those hooves can do damage to your ceiling, to your roof tiles as well. And they can also leave presents in your yard that you may not want. Okay, so Maggie says, making dense packed bread packed with meats and veggies, while it will semi fall apart, have a 1 grab and go meal bit. Yep. We will send people over there, Gray Man. So, yep. Argil, take care. We'll be there shortly. What is railroad pie? So railroad pie is basically the same thing as shepherd's pie. It's got a little bit more vegetables in it, so maybe a can or 2 of mixed vegetables or veg all. And then instead of having either mashed potatoes on top, you just put a dough on top, kind of like a pot pie. Okay, so it's a shepherd's pie with a pot pie crust. Let me see. Wow, we're already in an hour. Time flew. That's exactly what I'm doing, Little Lone Pepper. Gosh, you're a mind reader. So that's why I said earlier that I'm going to take a can or 2 of peaches, and then just take 1 box of yellow cake mix and put it on top. Now, the same thing you can make if you make your own dough for a cobbler. You can make, let's say 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of milk, and then I think it's 2 tablespoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt. Mix all that together to make a dough. Put the dough down on the bottom, then pour your filling on top of it. As that dough cooks and rises, it will cover your dumpling, your pie filling to make a cobbler. That's an alternative way of doing it. So you can do it either of those 2 ways. The easiest, of course, is the dump cake, where you just dump the yellow cake on top, and that's a great cobbler. We used to do that in Boy Scouts all the time. So yes, you're exactly right. That's what I exactly plan to do. So Maggie's volunteered to share her version of railroad pie with us. Okay. Absolutely, Ting Ting. And if you would be kind enough to be a test kitchen for us and try some of these recipes. Maggie and I were talking earlier today about some recipe books, and so she was sharing some ideas with me. But I think using some of the basic stuff that we have in our pantry, how are we going to have some hearty, tasty, and non-mundane foods to survive in the post-apocalyptic world? So let's get this out, and we'll go ahead and close this down. And then I would recommend that everybody get over to Gray Man Prepping, and he's got his live starting here right now, and he's going to be talking about the lies that most preppers are being told. So we're going to go to the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord be with you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. And remember, we say, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Christe dona nobis pacem. So, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord give us peace. So with that, remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. See what you can do to bring somebody else into the fold so that we don't have a lone wolf out there suffering all by themselves when they could be of value to you and you could be of value to them. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is how we're going to get through this. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here. And I will see you next Monday for the Civics and U.S. Government 101. Take care. Bye-bye.